giving us the opportunity to be a part of this event. A very nice initiative, I must say, and very nice presentation as well. Would you say that Google is important for Chennai, or will you say that Chennai is important for Google? What do you think?
Chennai is important for Google.
I think so too. Chennai is important for Google. And the reason I'm sure all of you know is quite simple. We have exported one of our own to run Google today. And I'm sure that this relationship will grow. And I also take this opportunity to say that I hope to see Mr. Pichai join us at the earliest convenience. How many of you here are familiar with FICCI? Very good. For those of you who are not, FICCI is India's apex chamber where we represent industries across sectors, and we've been around for a very long period of time. We play a very important role in working with respective governments across India as well as industry, representing industry's cause to FICCI. Of course, FICCI is present across India in various states, and we also have a state council here in Tamil Nadu, which is extremely active. We have identified various sectors that we are working on, out of which technology is one. I must say that digital transformation is one of the areas of prime focus for us, where we are doing a lot of work, and we hope that this partnership with Google will definitely yield more outcomes that will benefit industry in turn. We've been conducting events for the last several years, and we look forward to being able to do this more aggressively in the time to come. I must also say that it was very good to see the recent Google press release that emails are not going to be scanned anymore. This was last Friday, and I think that was an excellent move that was done. I'm very glad that Google has taken such a step, a very important decision in protecting people's privacy. As we move into this digital world, increasingly, yes, we have been in this digital world for long, but as we move into it increasingly, not only is privacy important, but security is also very important. We have to ensure that any information that we put up there is kept as safe as possible, and we don't want to have repetitions of what has happened in London in the recent past. So I'm sure that Google is working with SMBs to be able to encourage not only them coming online, but also ensuring that there is adequate security provided for any and every information that's put out there. I would like to encourage SMBs here, as much as SMBs form a very important part of any economy, whether it's any country or any state within India. SMBs definitely play a very important part. In the process of starting an SMB, it doesn't mean that or process of engaging in SMB doesn't mean that you should only look at it from a technology standpoint. There are various tasks in life, various issues in life that are very important that can be solved. Yes, to a certain extent we can aim to West, but there is so much more that we can do towards solving India's own problems for which the solutions are just not out there. So the opportunity is tremendous for SMBs to get into various industries as well as grow within those respective industries. Having said that, I don't want to talk too much more on technology because I'm sure that all of you have heard it much more than I have, and Google is again very accustomed to being able to share with you. But what I would like to talk about is a few things that might be outside of the scope of technology, where as much as we are going after technology leadership, it becomes very important to also run our respective companies in an effective manner, such that there is a balance between the leadership that we get in technology, plus the leadership that we are able to ensure is within our respective companies, so that there is sustainability. It's not just sufficient to bring in a new technology or solve a problem for a finite duration of time. It becomes very important for this solution to be able to sustain over a longer period of time. That's when it's worthwhile for all stakeholders, and especially the consumers. Towards this, there are a couple of good business practices that I think companies in India require, and I would just like to talk about two things. One is the balance between sales and research. Quite often, we do the kind of research that is needed, come up with technology, and then we start marketing out. Then we get accustomed to going after the sales of that particular technology and forget about technology development because we are now in the sales mode. It becomes very important to be able to play this micro-macro picture so that we are able to come out of technology, get into sales, come out of sales, get into technology, our research and development so that we are able to sustain this effort over a good period of time. The second problem that I feel faces most Indian companies is about the level of attention that they pay to marketing. We quite a lot of our new technologies don't come to the market, not because of the lack of first-time marketing. What I feel is the lack of sustained marketing. You have to continue to evolve your approach so that you're able to ensure that you reach different segments of the customer base, as well as able to address boredom that might come out of your existing customers. You have to evolve your approach even with your existing customers so that you can sustain with them for a good period of time. These are two very important business practices that needs attention, which I am sure Google will also be bringing in as part of Digital Unlocked. I was told that there might be a representative from the Tamil Nadu government, but I think there are other areas of attention due to which they could not join. But one of the things that I would like to talk about is Google working along with our government to be able to increase hotspots in our city. This again would definitely ensure that we are certainly unlocking the digital world and ensuring that internet is more available to everybody here. There are cities that are completely Wi-Fi enabled, completely hotspot enabled, which I think would be good to see our city too, as well as other parts of our state growing there. Last but not the least, I would like to tell you that, again, as much as technology might be important, as much as best business practices might be important, what is also important for SMBs is to know who you are inside of you. Whether it is, I'm not just talking about the company as a whole, I'm talking about any entrepreneur by themselves. The one who started the company, the one who is continuing to run the company. It's very important for this person to realize what is their value system. Let it be their family values, let it be their cultural values, let it be human values. This is definitely missing increasingly across our society. And this is very, very important from the point of view of sustainability again. When you know who you are able to ensure that there is no compromise on who you are. You continue to be able to sustain that. If at all you're doing anything wrong, you correct that and ensure that you're on the right path. But if you don't know who you are, there's only one thing that you're chasing, and that's money, which is not sustainable over a long period of time. That's not what SMBs in India should be. So please ensure that you are adhering to a value system. I'd like to end my address before I get into the panels, by sharing a quote. How many of you here, or rather how many of you here have not heard of Ratan Tata? Very good, not one. And I particularly liked a quote of his that he shared, I don't know when. And I put it up on our website as well. He says, quote, there is a big difference between human being and being human. Very few understand it. Unquote. That is the truth of today's context. We call ourselves human beings, but are we humans? Are we retaining that quality of ours? And I don't think so. I feel we're increasingly losing it. And it's very important that we bring it back. And I said, whichever platform that I am at, even though this is a technology platform, it's relevant to us, it's relevant to everybody. It's very, very important that we bring that human side of us. And I'm very glad that when I was talking to the panelists a little while ago, we were able to also share a few points on this front. And I hope that they would be able to highlight it to you as we speak to them. So with that, let me go into the question and answer or rather the panel discussion. Yes, there were a few questions that were earmarked to me for each one of the speakers. And I would like to add my spin, if I can say, to them. So the first one is we're going to be talking to Mr. Puneet Manuja, co-founder and CEO of HEROS, impacting change through digital. How many of you here have heard of clinical psychologists? So I can see 5 hands. I did not know what it was. So what did I do? I Googled it. I got to know about it from my daughter. I asked her in her 10th standard, what does she want to do? And she said she wants to be a clinical psychologist. I said, what is that? Are you sure it's a good topic? And she said, go check it out on the internet. So of course I went to Google. And I was amazed with the amount of attention that this particular subject is gaining globally. This again, I'm taking time because I think it's relevant to every one of us. What Mr. Manuja might be talking about might be people who are really in a problematic situation. But there is also a segment of people, perhaps a good number of us, who might consider ourselves of not having any problems. But when we are faced with a particular situation in life, it might be an accident, it might be a surgery that we have to go in for, it might be one of our loved ones going through a major problem. We lose ourselves completely. We don't know who we are. The so-called stable person that we are, we completely lose. And that is when we need these people called clinical psychologists. With respect to so normal people who go through these kinds of different situations. Clinical psychology plays a very, very important role globally. Unfortunately, not in India as much. As Mr. Manuja was also telling me, it's a taboo subject here. I'm very glad that he is into this subject. I'm very glad that Google has identified him. So, as we spoke, it's a taboo subject. How and why did your host come about? How has digital helped you grow your business? The kind of problems that you're facing, how does it solve it?
So I think why we started this in the first place was because of some of our personal experiences. So Richa, who's the other co-founder, and she's my wife as well. So way back in 2008 at IIT Guwahati, which is where she did her graduation from, a friend of hers committed suicide. I think we all would have read at least one or the other news of students committing suicide in quota, in colleges, etc. So I think IIT Guwahati, despite having a fully functioning counseling cell, they had psychologists, they had psychiatrists, still no one was going there. This girl at least did not take the step of seeking support. I think that was something which triggered a nerve in Richa. She started thinking, what could I have, what could she have done different to save that girl? So I think that was where the seeds were sown. She started doing a lot of research, trying to find answers, trying to understand why are people not going to a counselor? Why are people not going to a psychologist? And that's when she spoke to a lot of people in her college. She took this as a major project or a thesis project in her final year. And when I met Richa in the first job, which was in Hyderabad in the shop, she mentioned this to me and I also immediately connected. I said, yes, I have also been through something similar. For me, I come from NIT Calicut, Kerala, where I did my graduation from. I was a gold medalist in computer science. Despite that, I did not get placed for 2 months. And I think how we value placements, jobs, packages as a measure of success for our college life, I think I was also into a very bad state of mind. So I think that was something which made me very difficult because I didn't even have my family there. I come from Kanpur, I was doing my graduation from Kerala. So it was very away, as in very far away to see any support from anyone around me. So I think if you look at, so I think a part of Richard which I wanted to share here on why has this become very important in the past 6 to 7 years that we are, I would say, reading about it, talking about this, and also doing something to solve it. If you look at the demography of India, it's all youngsters. So what has happened is we are very aspirational. We have a lot of expectation of ourselves to be able to build $1 billion company by the age of 30, to be able to get a good lifestyle, a car, a house. As a result, it's huge competition. Not everyone can be successful. Similarly for a college, it's like let's say an IIT. It's a series of difficult examinations you pass. Some are not able to pass. As a result, they are stressed. Who are able to pass, it's a bunch of toppers who are put together in the same room. Only one of them can be successful after that, right? Others will be failing. So are we mature enough to handle that failure? Maybe it's the first time that failure has hit us for the first time. So I think a lot of these, along with the societal change that has happened, which is where we have moved a lot from joint families to nuclear families, mostly migrated into one of the metros to earn our living. We don't have that support system anymore. So I think this is what led us to believe we should do something about it. And when we were trying to find out what are the reasons, why are people not going to counselor, I think a large part was played by the cultural stigma that is there. And when we heard about like people being tagged as mad, being judged, and that is something which was stopping them from going and seeking help from a counselor. We thought, why not use technology? It's not only helping us reach out to a lot of people, it will also allow us to be anonymous. It will also allow a person who wants to seek support to be able to do that at their own convenience, at a more safer place than being spotted entering into a counseling clinic. So I think that is where digital touched us for the first time. We created this platform called Your Dost, where people or users like you and me, for any part, it need not be you are abnormal, or it need not be that you are having a difficult part of your life, or it could be simply for self-improvement, you want to be more confident. So you can seek support from these experts who are psychologists, counselors, life coaches, career coaches, over this medium, which provides you that anonymity as a comfort, and also helps you reach out to a large number of people which might not be accessible near you. So I think that's what we did. And then we also learned that over time that text is something which we are all used to, especially the younger generation like us. We like typing. We are on WhatsApp for the entire day. We are on Facebook. We are writing almost everything. And that's what we thought, okay, let's add text as a medium to at least integrate. And then slowly we added video, we added audio, telephonic, everything as well. But even today, 90% of people feel more comfortable talking to an expert over a real-time chat of text. And I think that is what we did. So I think that was the journey, how it went. And I think for us, digital not only was a channel of convenience or just an additional channel to increase reach, it was a lot more about the inherent anonymity that it provides, which made it much effective as a solution for us. And on top of it, I think if you look at Google, in the past 6 months, the searches for counseling or mental health have doubled. That itself says, I think the ecosystem is maturing. And that's where we did a lot of research, we did a lot of work to produce content for people to be aware. For instance, like only 5 of you raised hands of what is a clinical psychologist. I think for us, we need to first understand what it is before being able to seek support. And that is where a lot of content plays. And that's where a lot of digital plays a channel. Being able to be accessible on Google when someone searches for, okay, I have been laid off my job. What do I do next? It's a very difficult period. Automation is going to take away a lot more, and 6 lakhs to be precise in the next 3 years. Now, what do I do next? So that is where you need to be present. You need to be present where people are searching you. And that's where digital becomes very inherent to be able to integrate for a problem that we are trying to solve. So I think that's how it has played a very, very basic role, not only to mature a product or create a product with a backbone of digital, but also reach out to people through channels like social media, Google search, where people are actually looking out for answers when they can't find answers in their own loved ones because there are so many strings attached. How would I say that, let's say I'm a gay or I'm a lesbian to my parents? There's so much taboo. But I would want to get an answer to that question from Google because that's a friend that I have who doesn't judge me anymore. So I think that is where for us we need to be present on those channels, and that's how we are being discovered by people. And that's what helps us to expand a lot more sustainable and in a lot more effective way.
As we got to know from Shalini's presentation a little while ago, there are still a number of companies that are SMBs that are not online, that are not using this platform. And some of them might be contemplating whether to get into it or not. What is your input as to what they're losing out or what they can gain by making that decision and moving forward into the digital world?
I think it will be very interesting for me. I think I try to answer this with an acronym. So for me, if you want to create your business, convert that into a smart business, you have to be online. So that smart for me is if you have to be scalable, if you have to be measurable, if you have to be accessible, reliable, and trustworthy, you have to choose an online channel. So right now, it's not about being only offline or online. It has to be a combination which will help you. So I think being smart is equivalent to also having a digital arm to yours as well. So I think if you have to be a smart business, you are able to scale, able to measure that a lot more effectively as compared to an offline medium, are accessible. For me, I trust a business which has a website and is able to tell me a lot more about themselves. So that reliability and trust also builds when you are able to expose yourself to the people. I will not go and ask someone about the background, but I'll read about them if they have a digital presence. So I think that connect comes in with an online presence. So I think you need to be present online to be a smart business.
Thank you, Mr. Munajan. Our next panelist is Mr. Pushkaraj Mehta, Digital Strategist at Dive India. I saw a Hindi movie a few years ago. I'm very bad at movie names. I think it was one of the Kapoors. Can you say it louder? What a wonderful movie. It was fun, it was light-hearted. And this movie was about Spain and the four major things in Spain. And the moment I saw that movie, I said I must do all four things. And one of those four things was diving. What a wonderful sport. And Mr. Mehta, a little while ago, he made us so jealous about the advantages of diving. And unfortunately, I asked him a very bad question about whether he listens to music when he dives, and thankfully he doesn't. But again, a wonderful area to be in. It's perhaps becoming a popular activity in India, a popular sport in India. And you have your presence in the younger ones. How would you say going digital has helped build awareness? How has it assisted your growth process?
Well, to begin with, our online marketing strategy or platform was, we did a ground-up strategy. We tried to understand our audience, break down as to where they were in the research phase, if they were just researching to book an appointment 6 to 7 months in advance, or they were ready to buy. So we first broke down our audience into where they were, and then we started creating content for our users. What he said as well is, today customers are aware and they know what they want to do. So we laid down a proper strategy on our website where we created content for our searchers. The SEO strategy was to find whatever people were searching for and create content dedicatedly for them. So if someone was researching what is the best time to visit the Andamans to scuba dive, what are the best dive sites, we were there, we funneled traffic in through that. For the customers that were ready to purchase and just wanted to go dive because they'd heard from a friend, or they just knew that Andamans or India, where would you want to go scuba dive in that moment, our Google paid ad showed up. We supplemented by our SEO efforts, which meant we had, whenever customers were searching for us, we made sure we were number one there. We looked up to Facebook in a very different angle, where we created a community with a Facebook group. So anything and everything that was related to scuba diving, for example, what gear should I buy? What are the best dive sites in the Philippines? Where can you find whale sharks? Where can you find manta rays? Things like that were on a one-to-one basis, where it became a forum thread for anybody and everybody to share their ideas and talk. We also used a lot of Facebook ads during a promotion, where we sent targeted ads to people with interest groups and a lot of retargeting as well. The important thing that we noticed was we have to study our website audience. So we set up Google Analytics and conversion tracking on our site. That helps as a business to measure your customer cost per acquisition. Once you measure your marketing spends through Google, through Facebook, through whatever other medium you do, if you have your conversion tracking set up, you know where to invest, and that's what created, that brand presence, and we started investing wisely over the internet. So it was more of a reverse found approach, where we saw what customers were searching for and then started getting found for that by answering their questions.
So you use this word measure, and for somebody who's not familiar with the digital world, they're going to get scared with such a word. And I'm sure it's not scary. I'm sure it is a lot more simple. So if they are not going the digital way because of this hesitation, what is your advice to them to make the decision and move forward?
When it comes to online, like when you say digital marketing, to start off with, it's huge. Like there's Google, there's Facebook, there's Instagram now, there's Snapchat. Now what do you do? So the first question is, what are you scared of and why? And what do you want to measure? If it's engagement on site and awareness, there's a different metric to it. And if you want to measure conversions, there's a different way to approach it. I would say for small businesses, you should start getting educated, especially with the tools available with Google. If you just educate yourself a little bit, everything else will fall into place. And to answer the question of is it worth it to go online and you're in two minds, there's definitely pre-qualified audiences that are ready and already looking for your product. So I think that definitely helps convince you that digital is the way to go.
Thank you, Mr. Mehta. Our last panelist today is Ms. Arpita Ganesh, founder and CEO, Buttercups. I've been on several platforms, and my wife tracks which platform I'm going to. And when I'm back, she's got one complaint about me. She says, most of the platforms that you go to, there is not a single woman out there. it's all men. We have to end this male dominance. I just keep quiet. I don't say anything. The question that I was going to put forth is that women, perhaps there is a common perception that they are not comfortable with technology. I don't agree with that. I certainly don't agree with it. There is so much of examples that we have women in technology. But however, I have to acknowledge the fact that when we get into the corporate world, when we find our boardrooms, the various boardrooms that we might have, or the senior positions that we have, the number of women that we have is much less than the number of men that we have, and hopefully that changes in a good period of time to come. What has been your experience in terms of setting up your business? You told me that you've been around for 10 years, and the last couple of years is when you started this platform. What are the challenges? This perception, I'm sure I would like to know your inputs on it. What do you think about it? And how do you overcome these challenges that you have encountered?
So I think the first thing I'll say is that I wouldn't have existed as a business if there was no Google and the internet. So it's as important as that. I had an idea in my head that said that, women in India need better bras and better education in bras because no one talks about it. Again, taboo concept. But everyone suffers. All women in India suffer with this thing of who do we ask and what is right. And it started off as an idea, and there was Google, luckily for me. And I Googled across, understanding what's happening in the world. I'm sure that US and UK don't suffer with the same problem. Led me to actually connect with, companies abroad. They connected back, talked to them, understood. Through emails, connected to Indian companies, understood what was the problem here. Through surveys which were done online, understood, what are people facing. So my entire business is based on technology. So I don't know why women in India are scared of technology. Two was that when I started thinking about a business, I started thinking about how do I address a larger number of women without, without having the restriction of locality or region. How can I reach out to more women? Because this is a problem across India. And I, being in Hyderabad or Bangalore, could address only women in Hyderabad and Bangalore. There was only one me. So how do I take this problem solving that I'm doing across India to women across India? And only technology was the help, right? And it's not difficult. Technology has been, I think, any challenge that I've had, technology has helped me solve. So like I said, regional challenge, right? Where me being the only person who's a bra fitter, fitting only women who were able to come to me, versus today having a quiz online that anybody in India can take. Only technology helped, right? Me being somebody who didn't come from a business background, come from, my father's a lecturer, my mother's a teacher, to want to get into business and not having resources, technology helped, right? Realizing that you didn't need millions or crores to start a brand, versus you could take small amount of money that you had and start measuring where you were spending and what was working for you. That helped, right? I didn't have to spend money. Even today, we don't spend, multiple lakhs. We spend in the single-digit lakhs to do marketing, but we still see growth. And again, measurability. I think when we start businesses in the traditional kind of way, we just listen to whatever our advertising agency says or our friends say, saying that you do an ad in the paper and it'll work, or you do a billboard and it'll work. But where is measurability? How many people actually see that ad we've released, or how many people actually see or how many relevant people, let's put it that way, right? I can put up an ad for bras, but if 80% of the people looking at that ad are men, it's not doing my business any good, right? Which is what technology brought in, and which is what Google AdWords brings in, where it is reaching out to people. I'm reaching out to people only who are looking for me. And that means that every rupee I'm spending on my marketing or every content that I'm creating is going to the relevant audience and creating a mindset in their head. I'm able to educate through technology on a subject that is so taboo in India, which is bras, right? And I'm able to get these women to understand what we are doing in our business and getting them to buy because of online, being able to measure what is working for me online, which means that I save money, I save time, and I know what to talk about exactly like Puneet said. It's targeted, it's understandable, and there is no rocket science to technology. I don't know why women are scared of it. I mean, I learned whatever I learned being online, and Google has every answer, sadly. Or I mean, like you said, it'll also tell me which clinical psychologist I should see. So it's not sad, but it's, it's discoverability in a phenomenal way today. And I think more women, I don't know why they're so comfortable with their phones, right? Like every woman I know, including my maid, texts these days, right? WhatsApp. My maid will say, if you see some dirt, just take a picture and WhatsApp it to me, and I'll come and clean it. So when we can do that, why can't we do, why can't we learn technology? Another example I'll give is, when we employ people, like in my company. I used to see this girl who used to work at a Costa Coffee, serving coffee to people. And because I used to work out of that Costa Coffee so much, I saw how she worked, and I realized that someday if I start a company of my own, I wanted to come and work for me because of the way she was responsible, her customer service skills. She was one of the first people we got on board of our team. And she was scared of touching the computer when she came. Today, 2 years later, she is the head of admin and accounting in our company. And all it took was for her to give her the time, patience, and encouragement that numbers and technology are not your enemies; they are friends. Right? And today, everything is online. I mean, including uploading payments, uploading salaries, everything this girl does. Right? So technology is not difficult to pick up. It's just our own fears that stops us from doing it. And I think we should stop doing that. We should start exploring technology. The more you do, the more you want to learn. Today, I want to learn how to code. Sadly, don't have time, but it would be interesting to actually build something from scratch because there's so much you can do with it.
Very sad Google is assistant. Why are you so good, Google?
Sad as in, there's everything is at the click of a button. You don't actually go on adventures anymore. You have them on Google, so good in that way.
Your line of business, it's a niche in the clothing arena. It's a niche. And in the same manner, there are various niche kinds of SMBs in their respective lines of business. It's niche because of the fact that as much as people would like to see something online, unless they're able to get a look and feel of it physically, they're not going to be able to know whether they want to go in for it or not. And in the same way, there are various other niches various other industries where SMBs face the same problem of people wanting to buy online versus people wanting to buy in a store. So when you're faced with that challenge, how has digital transformed your business?
So I think the biggest challenge that we faced in terms of what we do is sizes. Women firstly don't have an understanding of what sizes they wear and or what they should wear. And again, like you mentioned, the experience of a product. So I think we work with two things. One is that having so much knowledge, having been in the industry for 10 years, I converted all the verbal knowledge that I've gotten on what are the problems women face, how do we find their sizes, what are the things we do, and sort of put it into a quiz format, which technology again helped us to make into a process where when women just had to answer 4 or 5 questions and we would be able to give them the answer through it. Right? Now that gives them a lot of confidence because when they went to a store, these are the questions they would typically be asked or typically be answering. Right? And we were able to put it into a quiz format online, which anyone can take. And again, these are anonymous. Unless they want to buy from us, they don't need to give us their, email ID. We keep data very, very carefully. Don't share data, etc. All that mandate follow. Gives them a lot of confidence to actually take this quiz and say, okay, she's asked us so many questions. Which the product she's sending me will be right. That said, our exchanges being less than 2% actually proves that these kind of models work. 50% of our business actually comes from online and 50% comes from, we do have offline centers. But we are seeing that 50% online growing to 60% very soon. I think in the next year it will become about 80%. So that definitely shows that there is, you can convert every challenge you have with the use of technology into something positive. And you just have to put your mind to it and say that, okay, technology is going to help you to find the right technology. As far as a niche business discovery being concerned, that is, I think, the power of technology and digital, and I'd say extremely important being Google in all of that. There are women who are looking for niche solutions like us. We don't know how to reach out to them in a traditional marketing way. But in a digital marketing way, every time some woman says, perfect fitting bra, I know I will come. Right? that is the power that we sort of use, which has been given to us thanks to Google, Facebook, etc., to kind of make and build our business so quickly, so fast, and so wide. I think that is.
Thank you very much. That brings us to the end of our panel discussion. I would like to thank my panelists for their responses, and I hope that it has been useful. I must say that the individual areas that our three panelists are in are extremely niche in their own ways, and I'm very glad that within India we are seeing this kind of movement to getting online and growth online. So I hope that this grows in the time to come, because it's definitely good for the economy, that's definitely good for the consumer side of things. And I must appreciate Google for having gotten into this effort of digital unlock and providing the training platform. I hope that this continues to grow in the time to come. Thank you.
With that, the conference has come to a close. We thank you for being here and invite all of you to join us for lunch. Thank you all once again. Have a good day.
Hello sir, on behalf of Hello City viewers, I welcome you. Please explain about your organization, Your Dost.
Okay. So Your Dost is an online emotional wellness coach. Like, how much stigma is there in India in terms of seeking psychological help? So we have created an online platform that allows you to talk to psychologists, counselors, coaches anonymously over internet by going to yourdost.com about anything related to personal issues, professional issues, or academic issues. So you can go into one-to-one interactions by means of either real-time chat or telephonic call or video calls. So that is what the platform is all about.
Okay. You said your Dost site is reachable through chat and other things. Do you voluntarily reach out to any institutions or any organization, corporate sectors, or any community voluntarily to promote the psychology?
So we actually reach out to a lot of colleges and corporates. So there are various ways in which we reach out. So we do a lot of workshops with corporates. We do a lot of seminars, workshops, trainings with college students. For instance, we all have IIT Madras, where this platform is there. So their students can actually use the platform, where the institution has taken this fortunate step where the students can actually access everything free of cost. They can take up online counseling sessions, they can take part in any of the events, webinars around exam stress, around placement issues, personality development. So these are the ways in which we reach out to students.
In meantime, you mentioned IIT Madras. I think there is a conflict among the students and the syllabus. Either the syllabus is overburdened or the students is not smart enough. No, based on the understanding. And very recently, in all these higher institutions of premium institutions in India, we hear the word student committed suicide and attempt suicide. A lot of in Delhi University, there is some kind of riot or kind of this thing, propaganda. How do you see this phenomenal kind of desperation spreading among the premium institution students?
So in terms of students, if you look at, I think it's not only the syllabus or the pressure of academic that is there. I think what is more important is from the time a student comes to a college. So if you look at especially tier 1 institutions, let's say like IIT, so almost everyone is a topper before that in their schools. They're all very good. That is why they were able to clear IIT. Now when they enter into the same college, obviously if you have 100 toppers, only one will come first, someone has to come 100th. So I think that is one reason why people are stressed. It's peer pressure that comes on. Second is the parental expectations as well. So I think if you look at parents, I think a lot of us ourselves expect that we'll start getting a good job, after which we'll be able to make parents a lot more happier, so that we are able to make them independent, we'll be able to earn that. So a lot of that expectation and aspiration that we have, where we are for the first time not coming first in our life, and we have to deal with all of that ourselves, because most of us, let's say as students, were in a different city, we were not in our hometown. So that support system is missing, someone you can speak to who can help you guide in a time when probably you have failed or you had not succeeded as good as what you were expecting. I think those are certain areas which are a lot more important than only academic stress. I think for instance, one more issue that is very, very prevalent in academic institutions is people from different areas come in. People who are very good at speaking English, some people who are not very good at speaking English. And how, if you look at, we try to judge our smartness by the way we speak English. As a result, students start feeling a little overwhelmed when they are in a different crowd, which makes them feel very underconfident. Even if they are very good, that's the reason they have been able to qualify for IIT. After that, they start getting into a circle where they feel they are not good enough, just because they don't have a very good English. I think these are certain areas where it's very simple. If you talk to someone, you take guidance, it's much easier to come out of it and feel much better rather than keeping it in yourself. I think that is where the change needs to come in.
The change, do you think the change needs to come first to the student or to the parents?
I think there won't be a first. I think both needs to work hand in hand. Parents definitely have an expectation from students. Sometimes it goes overboard. A lot of times unconsciously, as a parent, if you tell your student, oh, I'm expecting you to probably make me a little dependent so that I need not work very, very hard after a point. Or let's say this was my dream. I wanted to become a doctor, but I couldn't because of certain issues. Now you can fulfill my dreams. So a lot of times parents unconsciously are making student live their dream, which is not what they should do. I think consciously, unconsciously, we should try to put this in our mind and not make your own dream overburden a particular student, or let's say at a school age, student age, or a career age. You should give them some space, let them think a little. Don't make decisions for them. Guide them whenever they need, because you are actually the first counselors or the first mentors of your kids. But then try not to have them live your dreams beyond a certain point of time there, where it becomes a lot of overburden or pressure for them. Let them think a little more. That is the way that they'll become more mature and start becoming more successful and better individuals.
Do these premium institutions or premier institutions of India like IITs, IIM, IITs, IIETs, IISCs, do they really produce a smart student or smart entrepreneur or a smart top class worker?
So I would say, see, there's no correlation.
I'll put it in the way. Do they produce a smart student or a smart executive? Because what we are understanding among these nowadays, seeing in the media, IITs are, all these premium institutions are producing only a top class worker, not a entrepreneur.
So see, I would not completely agree to the fact that IITs are only producing executives and not entrepreneurs, though I'm not from an IIT, I'm from an NIT. So there's no correlation between the kind of education versus how much you can think and execute. You might come from maybe a tier 2 or a tier 3 college, but if you are able to solve a problem which exists with the same passion that you have in you, I think that is what is more important rather than an educational or academic background. Yes, at times it does help, because when you are, let's say, from a premier institution which has a very good network of people who can come to you, which are required to, let's say, start a business, it helps. But I won't say it's completely related in terms of just having your educational background coming in way of pursuing your passion, be it as a top class executive or as an entrepreneur who is starting a business.
What are the other areas other than this, what do you call the clinical psychology or student psychology? Other than this, what are the other areas of your presence?
So what we have is, we have psychologists, which includes clinical psychologists, counseling psychologists, organizational psychologists. We also have counselors, life coaches, career coaches. So what we do is, we try to provide the entire support in terms of, be it personal issues, which are around relationships, personality, etc. It might be career issues, which are work-related issues in, let's say, conflict management at workplace, work-life balance, or academic issues, which is where the student counseling or college-related issues comes in. So I think what we have is all personal, professional, and academic issues solved by different types of experts who are present on the platform.
Does our education system fit to be perfect 100% to all these premium institutions?
So I think education system definitely has come a long way from what it was in the past. I think if you go, let's say 5 to 10 years back, it was a lot more about theoretical knowledge. Recently, if you look at a lot of institutions, be it tier 1 or tier 2, have some bit of entrepreneurial cell or a club that is actually promoting people to start and try their own ideas. I think that industrial exposure and exposure to try something that you have as an idea and get executed is what is being promoted, and that has changed in the past 5 years. But still, if you look at, there's a long way to go. For instance, let's say what we need to do is we need to add coding as a part of even the schools, need not be only at the college level, because without knowing coding it's very difficult to have a digital presence. I think a lot of these where you get to also know about the new technology rather than only relying on the theoretical knowledge is what is as important as the theoretical knowledge that we get out of the books.
As Ratan Tata saying as mentioned, like being a human rather than the being rather than a human being a human. Our education values are not meeting out being a human. If I am right, just correct it. If I am wrong, just correct it.
Right. So I would say it's a very interesting saying in terms of being human is a lot more important than a human being. I think if we look at especially where we have moved to as a younger demographic, we are all living on our own. We don't have joint families, we have nuclear families. A lot of times we try to take our parents for granted sometimes, not calling them where they get worried, they are in a different city. So a lot of these small things where we somehow, because of the fast-paced nature of our living, not express our emotions as openly as possible, be it to parents, be it to your own spouse or as a wife or a husband. I think that's equally important. I think being human are for two people. One is your own family that you have. Try to give them as much time as possible. Don't take them for granted just because they have a blood relation with you. Try to give them as much time as possible. On the other hand, even people around you, try to not always find for, let's say, what I am gaining from this conversation with someone. Try to talk to them. If they need help, try to spare those 5 minutes, 10 minutes, which I know it's difficult with the fast-paced growth, but let's try to find those 5-10 minutes to talk to people. Let's go a little away from all the technology, which is social media, everything where we are expressing ourselves. Let's try to also spend time, go to the basics, like how 10 years back it was. Let's try to meet people in person. I think that's what will teach us a lot more about emotions and being human. I think that is also something which is very important and what we should do.
Our nuclear family kind of setup, does it sustainable? For how long? How moderate it is going to be?
Right. So I think it has both positives and negatives if you ask me. I think people who have moved to nuclear families or even those who are staying with joint families, if you look at the fast-paced growth where you are almost spending almost 10 to 12 hours in an office, you are almost staying in a nuclear family where your parents are just waiting for you to come back. So a lot of times youngsters feel a little bit curbed in terms of independence when they are with their parents, causing a lot more conflicts than staying a little away from them, which may be true to some extent but might not be to a large. So there's no right or wrong in terms of moving to a nuclear family versus staying in a joint family. It's a lot more about the individual, how comfortable they are. Having said that, even if you are staying away from your parents, I think what is important is we should always try to respect the freedom or the independence we have got. Along with that, balance the relationship which we have as well. I think as I already said, you need to respect the relationships. You need to not take someone for granted just because they are, let's say, your parents or they are your siblings. Just try to spend those small time, try to give them those surprises, meet them as much as you can to be able to balance that along with the other things that you are balancing in your life. So there's no right or wrong in terms of a nuclear family or a joint family. What is important is balance the two so that you are able to get the best of both worlds rather than neglecting one completely and not the other.
Hope the parental care turns towards the children's rather than hunting money. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.